Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Chris and welcome to lesson number 7. And also a big welcome to you if this is your very first lesson that you've seen. These have been featured recently on national TV. So if you're here looking for some piano lessons, you're in the right place. And don't forget, we also have a previous series of lessons where we went back right to the basics, the very first steps of playing the piano. They are still available. If you check out Casio Music's YouTube channel, you'll find those are still on there, ready and waiting for you to work through. But if you're a long-time viewer, you'll know that over the last few weeks, we've been working on some new pieces, and we've been working through 3 pieces on the ABRSM Grade 1 lists. And so far, they're sounding pretty good. I thought what we did today is to start off by thinking a bit about what makes music expressive. So I'm going to play you something now, okay, a bit of a change. I'm going to play you a little extract from one of the pieces that we've been working on. It's Sunlight Through the Trees. Now, this is the very last part of the piece, and we haven't done this so far. I'm going to play it for you twice. It's going to be different, and I'd like you to tell me which version you preferred. Did you prefer version 1 or version 2? Okay, so have a listen to this. I'm going to be playing from bar 14, if you've got the music in front of you, which is on the 4th line down. And here is bar 14 to the end for the very first time. Okay, that was version 1. Now here's version 2. Okay, so which version did you prefer? There wasn't really much in it, was there? I guess you could say both versions were fairly accurate. But if you felt the second version had perhaps a little something extra, well done. Because the second time around, I tried to observe a little more of the expressive markings on the music. So, for example, in the second version, you heard the pulse quicken and then slow down towards the end. So there are all these different details on music, not strictly concerned with what notes to play on the piano or for how long to hold them down for. Other elements in there, things that tell us when to get louder or get softer, or to speed up or slow down. And I thought what we do today is cover a few of those together. So let's just go through a few of the signs and symbols that you'll find in the 3 pieces that we've been studying. Firstly, some dynamics. Have a look at these. Okay, so on the left-hand side are a few symbols that you will find. The first symbol there is just the letter P. Now that's short for piano, which in Italian very roughly translates to softly or gently. MP, mezzo piano, a little louder than piano, so medium soft. Mezzo forte, medium loud, again, 1 notch higher in terms of strength of sound or volume. And F for forte, which means loud, strong. So there, if you saw a dynamic marking of F in the music, you know to play fairly loudly. There are other dynamic markings in there, and I've just listed a few, and these are the ones that you'll find in the 3 pieces that we've learnt together. But there are others as well. They're the most common ones. So bear that in mind. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Next, we have ways of telling musicians when to get louder and when to play softer. One of the great things about playing the piano is that you can grow in sound and you can also decrease in sound. You can get quieter. You may have noticed in the second version that I played earlier, the volume got louder gradually and it got gradually softer too. Well, here's the symbol for getting gradually louder, or crescendo. it looks a bit like a hairpin, doesn't it? It starts small and then widens up. And then the opposite of that, where you have a loud sound and you get gradually quieter, called diminuendo, sometimes called decrescendo, looks like this. So they're very important too, and we'll definitely find those in the music that we investigate today. And lastly, we have two words there. They are Italian words that are abbreviated. Okay, the first one, accel, well, that's short for accelerando, and that sounds very similar to the English, doesn't it? Accelerate, so get quicker. And then the opposite of that is below it, rit, and that's short for ritardando, which means holding back or sometimes getting a little bit slower. There is another version of that often seen, which is called rallentando, which is the same thing, slow down. Okay, so accelerando, get quicker, ritardando, hold back and get a little slower. So we're going to experience and investigate all those different terms today, and we'll find them not just in one piece, but in several. Okay, so going back to Sunlight Through the Trees, I hope by now you've got the music. If you haven't, have a look at the links in this video description and you'll find where to go to download the copy of Sunlight Through the Trees. I thought what we did together today is just to study let's go from bar 14 to the end of the piece. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to look at bar 14 and 15. Let's take a look first of all at just the notes and the rhythms, the length of the different notes there. Well, I think we can recognize now where we've got quavers and crotchets, and can you also see in bar 15 we've got a quaver rest. Now we did look at the quaver rest in the last lesson we did in lesson 6. I'll play it for you again now. There shouldn't be any particularly new challenges in those two bars. So I'm going to start off with my 5th finger on A for bar 14 in the left hand. It's A because left hand is written in the G clef, okay, unusually so. So that first note is A above middle C. And if I play 14 and 15 very, very slowly together, just to show you what you should be doing there, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So don't forget, of course, when this video is finished, you can always rewind that and practice it as many times as you like. Now, did you notice also in those two bars we had some expressive markings, a crescendo and also a diminuendo. So this time I'm going to try and make sure that as I move through bar 14, I try and make the notes gradually louder. And in bar 15, I'm going to start loud and get softer as I progress through the bar. Now this is going to take practice, but this is what you should be aiming for. So from bar 14, 1, 2, ready, go. And hopefully there you heard a swell in sound and a little bit more of a fading away towards the end of that second bar. So now let's take a look at bar 16 and bar 17, the next two bars. And they're very, very similar to music we've already played. Actually, if you take a look at bar number 5, it's exactly the same as bar 16. Bar 17, unfortunately, isn't quite the same as bar number 6. It's similar, but not exactly. If you have a little look and compare those two, if you compare bar 17 to bar number 6, you'll see that the notes aren't quite in the same sequence, but they are very, very similar. So just to give you a flavour of how bar 16 and bar 17 should go, I'm going to begin with bar 16 with my 5th finger on D at the top here. Notice how I'm playing mezzo piano, and I'm going to play it like this. So that's all using skills we've already covered. So how about a recap then? If I go back a little bit, just to show you how those 4 bars should go together. If I play from bar number 14, it should sound like this. Okay, now from bar 18 onwards, there are quite a few new things here. First of all, in bar 18, have you noticed how we have a new time signature? Now, a time signature tells us how many beats in every bar there are. At the beginning of the music, we had 4/4, called 4/4, sometimes called common time. And that means that there are 4 crotchet beats in every bar. The pulse of the music goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. However, at the end, in bar number 18, it changes. We get 3/4, which means 3 crotchet beats in the bar. And that has a different feel. It now feels like this: 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We went from going 4/4, strong, weak, 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 strong, weak, 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 to 3/4, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. So that's something to think about. The other thing is, have you noticed in bar 18, we have excel. Now we've just talked about that, Accelerando. So that means in that bar, the pulse needs to feel quicker or get quicker. So instead of it being 1, 2, 3, it should perhaps be 1, 2, 3, a feeling that we're getting faster and faster. Now, in bar number 19, we're going to keep that new faster speed. But in bar 20, have you noticed how there is a writ? Okay, that abbreviated word, which means holding back or getting slower. So maybe getting gradually slower towards the end of the piece. So I'm going to play bars 18 to the end and listen to those changes in speed, in tempo. So from bar 18, I'm going to count myself in with 3 beats and then start. 1, 2, 3. So there were loads to think about there. I'll play it again. Listen one more time for a gradually increasing speed in bar 18. Do you notice also in bar 19, we've got those square brackets, those dotted square brackets, the ottava? That explains why my hands went up an octave, even though the notes looked the same. Remember, ottava means you play 1 octave higher than written. We then went back to the usual place for bar number 20, and we slowed down. Have a listen again. From bar 18, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so one of the questions is, well, that's an awful lot to remember. Do I have to think about that all at the same time? And the answer is no, you don't. If you were going to practice that, what I'd suggest you do is think about the notes first and the timing. Don't worry too much about the expression elements until you've got a really good grasp of the notes and the rhythms. I would perhaps think about playing this first of all from bar 18. My 5th finger on D, just play it very, very slowly and practice moving up the octave as you need to. So from bar 18 like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. So that was a slower tempo. I wasn't worried too much about the changes in volume or the changes in speed. Just get those notes and rhythms right first. You notice how in that very last note, my right hand went over my left hand.
That's what RH over means in the last bar. So I think the best way to approach this is to do that slowly, but by now, hopefully, you've got all the musical skills that you need to be able to work on that last section. I'd like you to try that for our next lesson. So I hope that's given you a bit of an illustration into how useful and how important the expressive elements of music are. I thought what we could do now is go over to Parson's Farewell. And before we go any further with that one, it was really great to have a question in our Facebook channel. And the question was, what does it mean at the very beginning of the music where it says lively, crotchet equals C 138? Well, what that means is it's the tempo of the piece, the speed of the piece. 138 means that there are 138 crotchet beats in a minute. Now, unless you've got a metronome or a digital piano with a built-in metronome, that doesn't mean very much. But what I've done is I've pre-programmed my piano. In the metronome here, I've actually dialed up the speed of 138. And now, when I press the metronome button, I'm going to get a series of clicks. Now, all these clicks are going to be equal in terms of their spacing. Listen to this. Okay, now that's what 138 crotchet beats sounds like. Okay, now why is that useful? Well, because now I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the pulse of my music. That's the intended pulse of the piece. So if I play this from the beginning, thinking about that pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that's about where we got to. So you can hear how knowing 138 beats per minute gives me a suggested speed. Now you might be thinking, well, gosh, that's quite fast. I haven't played it that fast yet. Well, don't worry. That's just the optimum or ideal speed. If you play it slightly slower than that, or even if you play it more slower than that, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is that whatever speed you're playing at, it's fluent and it's mostly controlled and it's fairly accurate. Aim for those parts first and then you can speed up. So I just played pretty much where we got to. I think last lesson we were looking at the right hand, weren't we, from bar 9 to the end of the piece. So if you're ready, let's play that part together, okay? I will take it slower than 138 beats per minute. First of all, let's put our third finger, if we're going to go from bar 9, let's put third finger in the right hand on F. Okay, now I'm going to play it for you once and then I'd like you to play it for me again. Okay, we're going to play up to bar 16. Okay, up to bar 16. Just me first. Here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right, now it's over to you, okay? Join in with as much as you can. If you haven't learned the whole thing yet, doesn't matter. Just try and play what you can. Okay, third finger on F, and I'll count you in with 4 beats. Are you ready? Here we go, from bar number 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all right. Well, that's the ideal way. That could be work in progress. Don't worry if it is. Just do what you can. What I'd like to do today is to look at the left hand. But before we do, you may remember the last lesson I said we've got some lines there that mean quite a lot. I'm not going to explain them. We'll look at them in lesson 7. Well, here we are in lesson 7, so I guess it's time to explain them. Now, actually, the lines I'm looking at, can you see there's a thick black line in bar number 9 and 2 dots, and a similar thing happening in bar 16. Now, what I want you to do is think about those lines almost a little bit like brackets, okay? And anything in between those brackets, you have to repeat, you have to play twice, because those markings are called repeat markings. So actually, they make a huge difference because they actually lengthen the whole piece of music. If I play from bar 9 for the first time, I go all the way through until I get to bar 16. I don't continue into bar 17, I go back to bar 9 and I play it through again. But on the second time around, I don't play bar 16. If you look at bar 16, you'll see there's a square bracket over the top with a 1 on it. That's called the first time bar, and that means that should only be played on the first time. So if I'm playing it through, if I'm repeating it, when I get to that bar 16, I don't play it, I ignore it, and I jump over it. I go straight into bar 17, which is the final part of the piece. Let me show you how it goes, okay? One more thing to think about. If you look in bar 16, can you see there is a P, a dynamic marking of P? That also makes a big change because it means that when you repeat, when you go back to bar number 9 for the second time you play it quietly, which is different to the first time. Okay, so let's try this out then and see what happens. So let's try it from bar number 9. And I'm going to be playing forte first of all, and notice it'll get quieter on the repeat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's how the repeat markings work. Did you also notice another detail there that says rit second time? So the second time you play that piece, you have to ritardando or hold the tempo back, slow down a bit. So I hope that's made sense, and to go with that, why not let's explore the left hand of that very last part of the piece. We've just got one more bit to do before we finish things off. And it's from bar 13, and we're going to be looking at the left hand. Let's do this in the normal way. So first of all, let's take a quick look at the rhythm of bar 13 onwards. Let's clap 13, 14, 15 and 16. Okay, I think bar 17 is fairly self-explanatory. Okay, you ready? So go from bar 13, quite slow to begin with. Let's clap it. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 yeah, much slower. Okay, try it one more time. Okay, so at that slower tempo, are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 yes. Notice how there's a minim rest, a 2-beat rest at the end of bar number 16. So let's take a quick look at the notes, and I wonder if you can tell me what the first note is in bar 13 in the left hand. Well, let's take a look, and the answer is it's a C, and C played with my 4th finger. And there's a bit of repetition in this bar, isn't there? It goes C, D, E first of all, C, D, E, and then it does the same thing again. So bar 13 would go 1, 2, and then bar 14 14, we're going to put a third finger on D. And then notice how we've got to reposition our hand. Look, fifth finger on D. And then we go up by step. And then A again. And D. So it looks fairly straightforward. There's a lot of step-by-step movement there. Okay, if you remember to obviously reposition your hand, it again should be okay. Let's go back to bar 13 and I'll play it for you very slowly so you see how it should work. Fourth finger on C. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, there we go. Well, this week, see if you can learn that left hand and then perhaps gradually put both hands together for that final section. And just one last thing with that piece, of course, in bar 16, you have in the left hand a 3-note chord. You have a fifth finger on D, a third finger on F sharp, and a thumb on A. And they're the 3 notes that we need, held for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Well, good luck with that, and I hope that little walkthrough there at the very end will be useful. So by now, we've built a lot of really great musical techniques and skills. Let's have a look at our final piece today, of course, Salley Gardens. Now, you may remember with Salley Gardens last week, we reached the end of the piece with the right hand. And I said that the right hand actually was very similar to the beginning of the music. It just was played up an octave. So I'm going to start off by playing that section. And again, if you've got the music, I'm going to be playing from bar 13 to the end. So from bar 13, I'm going to put my thumb on C. And I notice it's mezzo piano, so moderately soft. I've got some crescendo markings coming up too, which I need to try and observe. Let's see if I get these. 1, 2, 3. Okay there, so do you notice the crescendo, diminuendo, and also dim as well, written as a word. That was also short for diminuendo. It means the same thing. So, hopefully by now you've got a good idea of that section. Again, it might not be as fast as the way I play it, but hopefully by now you've been working on that bit. Let's slowly together have a look at the left hand. So with the left hand part then, what we're going to do first of all is just clap the rhythms from bar number 13, starting with that quaver. Okay, we're going to clap all the way through to the end. Okay, and our tempo is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, are you ready? All right. So I'm going to count in with 3, and then we're going to begin on that quaver. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. Now let's take a look at some of the notes. Again, starting from the same place. I think what we need there is a third finger on our A. Okay. Notice how the rhythm of the left hand there is similar to the right hand. And when we put it together, it's going to sound really lovely. Listen to this. Very, very nice. Okay, but let's take a look at the left hand. So third finger on A. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the first phrase, just so as you have a listen to it. And watch out at the very end here, we've got double notes. Okay, that's probably the only challenge. So from the A then, the A quaver. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I would say there that a lot of that music there is straightforward. Again, the music's moving step by step. The only challenge really was in bar 15. Did you notice in bar 15, just before I played the double notes here, if I play the bar before it, put my thumb on C here, and whilst my thumb is playing the C, I get these new notes ready, and that means I've got to bring over my second and my fourth like this. Can you see this? Now, important here to play those two notes, the B flat and the D that you need next. Make sure you're playing on your fingertips, okay? Don't go flat-fingered. If you can see your fingernails, that's flat-fingered. That's not going to be great, okay? You're better off just bringing those fingers up a little bit so you can play on the fingertips. Like that. Okay, so just try this. Put your thumb on middle C, and then whilst that's being held down, bring over your second finger and your fourth finger. Put them down for me like this. That's it. And now play C and E with finger 3 and thumb. Should we try that again? Thumb on C, B flat and D, 4 and 2. Now C and E, 3 and 1. Go. Okay, that's a really essential technique which you'll need for that part. And then moving into bar 16, what have we got here? Well, we've got a fifth finger on F and a thumb on C. After we've played those two notes for 2 beats, we're going to go down to G and B, and look at that natural sign. Can you see the natural sign? That means G natural, the white key. Sorry, I beg your pardon. B natural, the white key of B. Here we go. So G and B. There, that's it. And then A. You want to just try that phrase with me? Okay. Let's go back to the beginning of bar 16. F and C. Are you ready? It's nice and slowly. 1, 2, ready, and F and C. Now G and B. Third finger on A. Well done. Okay, again, that phrase might need some practice. Rewind it if you need to. And the last phrase here, again, the most important thing with this is to put your thumb on A. So lift off your hand from that last phrase and then begin with your thumb on A. I'm going to play it for you, okay? Again, apart from that, it's fairly straightforward. Just watch out for a thumb on G towards the end. That sets us up really nicely for C and E, the very last double notes. I play the last notes with the fifth finger and a third finger here. All right, so let's go from the thumb on A in bar 17. Can you see that there? Okay, so here we go. 1, 2. Thumb on G, C and E. Here is the phrase one more time, and then I'll play the entire left-hand part for you to listen to. 1, 2. Okay, right, so here we go then from bar number 13 with the A all the way through for you to listen to. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. So This week what I'd like you to do is to have a look at that left hand and see if you can work all the way to the end of the piece. Okay, well now it's time to join Russell once again, and Russell is going to chat to us a little bit more about the exam experience. Remember that one of the things that you can do with all these pieces is to record yourself playing at home and send it off to the ABRSM and take part in a performance grade. I've got quite a few students now who have done that, and they've really enjoyed the process and really felt like they've learnt an awful lot from the experience. Russell is going to talk to us a bit about the way examiners assess our music and what they're looking for.
Hello everyone, it's lovely to be with you again. My name is Russell Hepplewhite, and today I want to give you a few more details about the performance grade exams. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how we assess performance grades. When we're listening to the 4 different pieces, we're thinking about 5 main key features: pitch, time, tone, shape, and performance. To give you a little bit more information on each of those, in terms of pitch, we're thinking about how accurate the notes are. When we're listening to time, we're thinking about how accurate the rhythms are. We're also thinking about how appropriate the tempo is and whether there's a good sense of rhythm and whether there's a strong sense of the rhythmic character. In terms of tone, we're thinking about how well projected the sound is, how well controlled the tone is, whether it's even and whether there's some colour to it. In terms of shape, we're thinking about how expressive the performance is, whether the phrasing or the musical sentences have been shown clearly, is the melody well projected, and is it a detailed performance? And in terms of performance itself, we're thinking about how well projected the character or style of the music is, how musically convincing the performance is it secure, and is it musically involved? Overall, is there a positive feel to it? I think it's also important to say here that we mark holistically. We don't penalty mark, so we're not taking off 1 mark for every wrong note, nothing like that. We put those 5 key features into the weighing scales and we arrive at a mark out of 30 for each of the pieces. And then after we've listened to all those 4 pieces, we then think about this idea of performance as a whole. And there we're talking about communication, interpretation, and delivery. In terms of communication, we're thinking again about how well projected the overall performance was, how involved it was. Is there a sense of performance commitment, and is the sequence and pacing of the program effective? In terms of interpretation, are the demands of the music met? Are the different styles and characters shown clearly? And in terms of delivery, are the technical challenges well met? And is there good control and management of the instrument? So that's it from me. I'm very much looking forward to being back next week for a question and answer session. But in the meantime, keep enjoying your music making.
Thanks, Russell. Well, again, that's really important and useful advice. And now we know exactly what the examiners are listening out for when they mark our pieces. I really hope you've enjoyed today. Don't forget, if you have any questions for either me or for Russell, please do write them in the comments section in these videos. We'd be very pleased to answer them and help you further. But for now, enjoy your music, and I'll see you next time.